In the course of the January 6th committee hearings so far, we have learned about a heated meeting that took place in the White House on December 18th, 2020, between members of the Trump White House's Team Crazy and Team Normal.
The Overstock person, I've never knew who this guy was. I don't think any of these people were providing the president with good advice. And so I didn't understand how they had gotten in.
I'm going to categorically describe it as you guys are not tough enough. Or maybe I put it another way, you're a bunch of
Flynn screamed at me that I was a quitter and everything, kept on standing up and turning around and screaming at me. And at a certain point I had it with him. So I yelled back. Rather come over, or sit your effing ass back down.
Cassidy Hutchinson called the meeting, quote, unhinged. But my next guest, Peter Strzok, the former FBI agent who earned Donald Trump's fury during the Mueller investigation, is actually calling it something else. He says it is, quote, a counterintelligence risk of the highest order. In a new op-ed for the Washington Post titled, "In One Oval Office Meeting, a Triple Russian Threat," Peter Strzok details how 3 people in the West Wing that night feeding Donald Trump conspiracy theories about election fraud have significant connections to Russia. First off, Rudy Giuliani, known to have interacted with Russian intelligence agents during trips to Ukraine and was considered by U.S. intelligence at one point to be a target of a Russian disinformation operation. Of course, there was Michael Flynn. He was paid $45,000 by Russian state TV to speak at a gala in Moscow where he literally sat next to Russian President Vladimir Putin. And of course, he was convicted of lying to the FBI over conversations he had with a Russian ambassador. Patrick Byrne, the former CEO of Overstock, well, he dated Maria Butina. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it is because Maria Butina was the accused Russian spy who pleaded guilty to conspiring to infiltrate conservative U.S. political groups like the NRA and the Republican Party. Await, Maria Butina received a hero's welcome when she was deported back to Russia. Now, as Peter Strzok writes, quote, at a moment of grave national peril for the United States, this was an astonishing intelligence achievement for Russia. Joining me now is Peter Strzok, adjunct professor at Georgetown University School of Foreign Service and a former deputy of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division. He is the author of Compromised, Counterintelligence, and the Threat of Donald J. Trump. Peter, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for making time for us tonight. I want to pick up more on your op-ed. In it, you clearly state, do I think any of the 3 men who graced the December 18th meeting are recruited Russian agents? No, but at a certain level, it doesn't matter. Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for any intelligence service, whether it's Russia's, China's, ours, or anybody else, there is no greater priority than to gather intelligence and information about the leader of a foreign nation. So in this case, the presidency of the United States. Now, typically, the president himself and his immediate advisors are hard targets to get to. They're difficult to get people next to and get information. But what you absolutely can do is rely on people who have access. Now, historically, the Oval Office, getting next to the president is an extraordinarily difficult job. And in most cases, intelligence agencies aren't going to use people that you traditionally think of as a spy, somebody that is, they know they're working for a foreign intelligence service, they're communicating clandestinely, they're getting tasking, they're reporting back, they may be getting paid. In most cases, intelligence agencies don't use people like that. They much more rely on folks who they have a relationship with, whether it's through a friendship or a business association. And these informal sort of contacts, they use access agents to get exactly the kind of contact that you would want and that we saw in this December 18th meeting. But what sets this apart is this wasn't some, academic meeting at a think tank somewhere. This wasn't a business conference. This was a tiny little group in the Oval Office.
Yeah, and perhaps one of the most important in the attempt to overturn the election. And to the broader picture of his connection to Russia, Peter, Trump, we all saw it. The world saw it. Trump welcomed Russia's interference in the 2016 election to help his campaign. He was impeached the first time for a scheme involving pro-Russian Ukrainians to try and smear Joe Biden's campaign. How much more concerning is it when you factor in the totality, the whole picture of Trump's history with Russia?
Well, I think it's extraordinarily concerning. I mean, there has been, the entire first volume of the Mueller report talks about Trump and those around him, their connections to Russia. The Senate Intelligence Committee put out an entire report also looking at these investigations. I've written a book. Many folks have talked about it. But what is particularly concerning is at this meeting, and again, recall just what was discussed at that meeting. There is this small group that was talking about invoking martial law. They were talking about using the National Guard or other armed elements of the U.S. government to seize voting machines. They were discussing things that were so against the concepts of our democracy, of the vote for our president, that it was extraordinary in terms of its threat to the nation. And again, you have all these people who have direct connections to Russian agents, to convicted Russian agents, to sanctioned Russian agents. And to have that many connections in such a small group, I mean, it's unprecedented. It's extraordinary. And the fact of the matter is these folks are still out maintaining that, Trump was the rightful winner of the 2020 election, trying to undermine confidence in not only the 2020 election, but in elections to come. And so this isn't a past threat. These are things that are still going on and that as we go to the midterms and the next presidential election loom quite large.